so today, function notation day 2. Okay, so let me pause this. Okay, again, today is an extension of what we did yesterday. All right, today is more of the algebra. It looks more like Algebra 1 than what we were doing yesterday. Okay? So it says, if f of x equals 2 minus 3x and g of x equals 2x squared minus 1, find the following. So look at example 1. Okay? Example 1 says f of negative 2. All right, well, I've got two equations here. I've got the f of x in this, and then I've got the g of x in this. All right, so I've got two. Let me pause this again. I'm not confusing you. Okay, so then we've got two equations here. So we've got one football game here. All right, circle that.
Oh.
And then I've got another game here. Okay. So, example 1 is saying f of negative 2. Well, I've got a football game that's talking about f, and I've got a football game that's talking about g. Does everybody see that? Mm-hmm. We're going to be looking at the equation, the game, that's talking about f. So here it is, okay? Now, this is f of negative 2, and this is really f of x. And negative 2 is in the what spot? The x spot. So negative 2 is going to be my sub. Okay, if I sub negative 2 into the game, who's got to come out? The x. You put somebody in, somebody's got to come out. Okay, so I'm going to take negative 2 and I'm going to plug him into the f game. Well, here's the f game. All right, so 2 stays. Then I've got minus 3. And instead of writing x, I'm going to sub in negative 2. And he's got to have his parentheses around him because I plugged him in. His helmet. Yes, you're right. Okay, he's got to be wearing his helmet when he goes into the game. Okay, turn your calculators on. We're going to plug this in. No, we never want to save. Hold on. Too fast. Hold on. Everybody's got to get a calculator. Okay, so we're going to go to a calculator. I'm going to plug in 2 minus 3, parentheses, negative 2. Okay, I hit enter, and we get 8.
What?
So my answer is 8. Did you mess your calculator up? Did you get 8?
You broke it.
I can't see it. Did you get 8? Okay. Okay,
Wait,
now, what?
Couldn't you just do 2 times 3, not 2 minus 3 times negative 2?
We're always putting it in parentheses. There's a reason that I do that because later on we're going to have long equations and it's got to have parentheses. Okay? Okay, number 2. Look at example 2. Now what game are we talking about? The g game. Okay, so we're talking about g. This is really g of x. So I'm going to be looking at my g equation here. And what am I going to be subbing in?
X.
Negative 5. Okay, negative 5 is in the x spot, so I'm going to plug in negative 5 into the x spot here. All right, so I'm going to start with 2. He's okay. He can stay in the game. X is the one that's messing up, so I'm going to take him out and put in negative 5 with his helmet on. Remember, the squared is already in the game, so he doesn't go in the parentheses. He goes on the outside.
So you did that too.
Minus 1. All right, so then I plug that in exactly how it looks. 2, parentheses, negative 5, squared, minus, make sure that's a minus 1. Okay, hit enter, and we get 49. And that's my answer. Hey, take that off. Okay, look at example 3. What's different about number 3?
There's 2.
There's
games.
2 of them. There's 2 games, and what else?
You combine them?
Am I combining them?
Yeah.
What's the minus?
I'm subtracting them. So whatever answer I get for my F game, I'm going to subtract the G game from it. Okay, so we're going to do it 2 times in one problem. Okay, so I'm only going to start with the F game. And I'm going to take -1 and I'm going to sub him into the F game. Okay, f of x, this is the one I'm looking at for the F. Alright, so 2 minus 3, and instead of writing x, I'm going to write -1. Okay, let's find that answer first. So I'm going to plug that in. 2 minus 3 times -1. That's okay. Just don't do your homework like that, okay? Hit enter, and we get 5. Okay, is that my answer? No, I'm not done yet. Now I got to do the G. Okay? So now I'm looking at the G problem, and I'm going to plug in -3 where the x is. So I'm going to write 2, and instead of writing x, I'm going to write -3 squared minus 1. And I got to find that answer. 2 parentheses -3 squared minus 1. And I get 17. Okay, am I done? No. Okay, so now I have to take the answer of f of -1 minus the answer of g of -3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 5 minus 17. Does it matter which one goes first?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the f comes first here, I have to write my f answer first. Because g comes second, I have to write my g answer second. If you flip-flop them, you're going to get a different answer. Okay, so it's important that you write it in the order that it's written here. F, then G. So 5 minus 17 gives me -12 is my answer. What would have happened if I flip-flopped them? I would have got 12. And that's not the right answer. -12 is the right answer. Okay? Okay, example 4. What am I doing on this one? I'm same thing, but now instead of subtracting, I'm going to add. Okay, so start with your F. Yeah.
Could on these, could you put the whole thing in the calculator
Yeah, but I want to do it separate.
instead of doing it separate?
I want you to do it separate. Okay. Okay, so first I'm going to start with f of 4. So I'm going to put 4 into my f equation here. Instead of writing x here, I'm going to put a 4 with its helmet on. So I'm going to say 2 minus 3 parentheses, put his helmet on him, and that's what I'm plugging in. So then I put that in the calculator. 2 minus 3 parentheses 4, which gives me -10. Then I go to my G, and I'm going to take -1 and I'm going to put that in the X spot, right? Okay? Oops, right here. So instead of writing X, I'm going to put -1 with this helmet on. So I've got 2 times -1 squared, make sure that's outside the parentheses, minus 1. And then I plug this in. 2 times -1 squared minus 1. Just leave that alone for now, okay? And that's going to give me 1. Am I done?
No.
No, what do I have to do now?
No.
I'm adding, because there's a plus sign between them. I'm going to add them. So -10 plus 1. -10 plus 1 gives me -9. How are we feeling?
Pretty good.
Feeling good?
One more?
All right, we got example 5.
Too much.
Okay, for the function g, g of 4 equals -1, and g of -1 equals 4. If y equals g of x, what is the value of y when x is 4?
What?
What?
Okay, so right here. So we're talking about g of x, right? G of x, okay? All right, so g of x. I'm going to write this first thing here. G of 4. 4 is in the what spot? The x. And what is the y when x is 4? Negative 1. So when x equals 4, y equals negative 1. Okay, what about this one? G of negative 1. Negative 1's in the what spot? The x spot. So when x is negative 1, y is 4. Okay. All right, so what's y when x is 4?
4 or 1.
Negative 1.
When x equals 4, y is
Negative
negative 1. That's my answer.
Oh, wow. That was like so confusing.
Okay, any questions about that? Okay, now we are going to do our practice.